Close your eyes. Let your breathing find its own slow rhythm. Tonight we follow the story of a boy who carried the weight of an entire village on his shoulders and never once let anyone see him bend beneath it. Itachi Uchiha was born into the Uchiha clan, a bloodline of proud warriors whose eyes held a power unlike any other in the ninja world. The Sharingan, those crimson eyes that could read the world faster than most minds could think, ran deep in his blood. From his earliest years it was clear that Itachi was different. Not louder or fiercer than the others, but quieter, stiller. As if he were always listening for something no one else could hear, he passed the ninja academy at the top of his class. He mastered jutsu that grown men spent years perfecting. But the other children sensed something in him that went beyond technique, a gravity, a sadness behind his eyes even when he smiled. His father Fugaku saw it too, and rather than worry, felt only pride. Here was the future of their clan. What no one understood yet was that Itachi's gift was also his burden. He could see everything, and what he saw even then frightened him. There is a particular kind of loneliness that belongs only to those who see too clearly. Most children his age were thinking about training drills and ramen and who was fastest in a foot race. Itachi was thinking about war, about the way it echoed forward through generations, about the hatred that accumulated in the space between clans and villages like water filling a cracked dam. He had seen the battlefield at 7 years old, accompanying his father to the ruins of a conflict that had already ended. The smells, the stillness, the way the ground looked afterward. While other children were told war stories as exciting tales of heroism, Itachi absorbed them as lessons in consequence. He came home that day quieter than he had left, and something in him never quite opened back up to the brightness of being young. He became a shinobi not to fight, but because he believed that the only way to protect the people he loved was to understand the world's violence from inside it. He rose through the ranks at a pace that made veterans uneasy. Captain of his unit at 13. Accepted into the Anbu Black Ops, the village's most covert and dangerous operatives, while his peers were still mastering basic formations. The higher he climbed, the more clearly he could see the fault lines forming beneath his clan. The Uchiha were proud, and their pride had begun to harden into something else entirely. The Uchiha had helped found the Hidden Leaf Village. They had bled for it, built it, defended it across generations. But over time they had been quietly moved to the margins, given a section of the village away from the center, given respect in words, but not in deeds. The wound was real, even if the response to it would prove disastrous. Itachi watched his own clan turning. He watched the meetings in firelit rooms, the careful words that carried the shape of rebellion without speaking it plainly. He watched his father's jaw tighten when the village leadership was discussed. He watched men he had trained alongside beginning to look at the Hokage's tower with something other than loyalty. He tried to find another way. He met in secret with Danzo, a shadowed figure in the village's leadership who operated outside the boundaries of what most people were permitted to know. He met with the third Hokage himself, a man of enormous wisdom and equally enormous regret. He pleaded for a solution that did not require the thing they were asking of him. There was none. He was 17 years old when they told him what would have to happen. An uprising was coming. The Uchiha intended to overthrow the village from within. If it was allowed to proceed, the civil war would spill beyond the village's walls, draw in neighboring nations, and ignite a conflict that would cost thousands of lives, Uchiha and non-Uchiha alike. Someone would have to stop it. The village had decided who that someone would be. There are moments in a life when the path ahead forks, and both directions lead somewhere painful, and you must simply choose which pain you can carry and which you cannot. Itachi stood at that fork alone. He had no one to share it with, no one who could fully understand what was being asked. He chose the village. He chose peace, even at a price that would hollow out most people entirely. And when it was done, he did not flee into bitterness or explain himself or demand to be understood. He simply left. He walked away from the only home he had ever known, carrying a secret that would follow him every day for the rest of his life. But before he left, he made one exception, one mercy, for the person he loved most. Sasuke was small, 7 years old, and utterly devoted to his older brother in the uncomplicated way that younger siblings are, following him through the house, demanding to watch him train, falling asleep on his shoulder during long evenings, and having to be carried to bed. Itachi could not do to Sasuke what he had done to the rest. He told himself later that it was because Sasuke was innocent, which was true. He told himself it was because the village needed no more blood, which was also true. But beneath both of those reasons was something simpler and harder to admit. He could not bear it. Not Sasuke. Not this child who looked at him with complete and unconditional faith. So he made a different choice for Sasuke. He let him live. He let him hate. He told Sasuke things that were cruel precisely because they needed to be believed, that Sasuke was not worth killing, that he had been a test and nothing more. He made himself into a monster in the eyes of the one person whose opinion mattered to him most. And then he walked into the night and did not look back, because if he had looked back, he might not have been able to keep going. For years after, Itachi existed in the margins of the world. He was a missing nine, a criminal by official record, a member of the Akatsuki, an organization of dangerous outcasts that the village used him to monitor and report on from within. He was sick. A disease worked slowly through his body, and he let it, because he had decided that his death had a purpose. He was going to give Sasuke the chance to be the one to end him. He was going to give his brother a victory, the death of the man who had destroyed their family, so that Sasuke could rise above his grief and find something to live for beyond vengeance. Every choice Itachi made in those years was calibrated around this. How to keep Sasuke alive. How to keep him strong enough. How to let him hate without letting that hatred consume him completely. It is an extraordinary thing to spend years of your life engineering the circumstances of your own death for the benefit of someone else. When they finally faced each other, Sasuke was no longer small. He had grown into his anger and his power, and he came for Itachi with everything he had. And Itachi fought back, not to win, but to give his brother something real to overcome. He pushed Sasuke harder than he had ever been pushed, drawing out abilities Sasuke didn't know he possessed, forcing him to the absolute edge of what he could do. And then, at the end of it, when Itachi had nothing left, he walked toward his younger brother and pressed 2 fingers to Sasuke's forehead. The same gesture he had used when they were children, when Sasuke would ask him to train together and Itachi was too tired, tapping his brother's head gently and saying, "Maybe next time." He smiled. It was a real smile. Whatever else was happening, the exhaustion, the disease, the weight of everything he had done in that moment, looking at Sasuke alive and standing, Itachi felt something close to relief. Sorry, Sasuke. This is the last time he fell. And the truth he had carried so long alone began, slowly, to find its way into the light. Let your breath slow now. Let the tension leave your shoulders, your hands, the space behind your eyes. In the world of shinobi, strength is measured in destruction, in what you can break, in how many enemies you can overcome, in the power of the techniques you carry. But Itachi's greatest strength was never any of those things. It was the capacity to love without being loved back, to protect without being thanked, to tell a story about himself that was false and damaging and painful, and to hold that story steady for years because the alternative was worse. He never needed Sasuke to know the truth while he was alive. He only needed Sasuke to live. That distinction between needing to be understood and needing the people you love to be okay is one that most people spend their whole lives trying to learn. Itachi learned it at 17. And he carried it without complaint until the very end. As you drift towards sleep tonight, let that settle gently around you. The people who love you most are often the ones doing quiet, invisible work on your behalf. Work you may not see. Work that asks for nothing back. That kind of love exists in the world. It is rare, and it is real, and it is enough to carry you through even the heaviest nights. Rest now. The village is safe. The stars are out over the hidden leaf, and somewhere beyond the reach of story and sorrow, Itachi Uchiha is finally, completely at peace.